Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz and welcome to a special report on investing, and in particular what we care about when we talk about investing. Let's go back in history, bit of a history lesson. Shoulder pads, champagne, the whole stock market boom. What did we care about then? Well, back in 1986 we had $18 billion of our money directly invested in our stock market. That was about 14% of our household net worth. Back then we had $19 billion invested in bank deposits, about the same amount. And our houses were worth $81 billion, about 60% of net worth, about 4 times more than what we had invested in the stock market. And we had $13 billion of household debt. That was about 16% of the value of our houses. Now let's fast forward through to the end of 2007. Remember, we've had the stock market crash, a whole bunch of stuff has happened, there's been a boom in the housing market. And now we have $15 billion directly invested in the local stock market. So that's less than we actually had invested in 1987, despite huge inflation and, in theory, a rising market. Yet our houses are now worth $614 billion, 97% of our net worth. So the amount of our net worth tied up in our houses has gone from 60% back in 1986, 87, to 97% now. So you can see why we care so much about house prices. Also, our mortgage debt is much more than it was back then. Back then we had $13 billion in mortgage debt. Now we have $168 billion in mortgage debt. And that mortgage debt is worth 27% of total household values at the moment. Whereas back then it was just 16%. So we've got double the amount of debt relative to the total value of our houses than we used to have. We also have 41 times more invested in our houses now than we do have invested in the stock market, whereas back in 1986 it was only 4 times more. So relatively, housing is 10 times more important now to us than it was back in 1986, relative to the stock market. And also we care a lot more about what's happening with interest rates, because we have so much in debt and a lot more in term deposits in the bank. So the big picture here is now we care a lot more about house prices, we care a lot more about interest rates, because we're much more exposed to that household debt and also to the value of our houses. 97% of our net worth tied up in our houses, and our mortgage debt twice as much as it was back then. I'm Bernard Hickey with a special report on what we care about in investing.